7 is 33 minutes after 8 on your preferred radio dial. Thank you for starting your morning with us. Sunrise Morning Show. My name is John Hughes, and we'll get into a conversation regarding the ongoing bipartisan committee probe from the House of Parliament on the leak tape involving COP Alex Mensah, Superintendent Asari, Superintendent JB, IGP Akufu Dampare, and Chief Bugri Nabu. But yesterday we got to know that there's a longer version of the tape. So it just might be right that Superintendent Asari's claim and also the COP's claim that the tape might have been doctored is actually correct. So we'll get into the issues in a bit. And you want to listen carefully so that when we activate the phone lines for your comments and your voice to be heard, you exactly know where to punch. I'm sure you've been monitoring the process so far. So far, what do you make of the process? The investigations are ongoing. COP Alex Mensah says the truth will come out at the end of the day. Is that enough? Chief Bugri Nabu refused to speak to the press. COP Alex Mensah has to appear later in October. The National Security Minister says, well, some information which was required of him from the committee has not been declassified, so he cannot give that information to the committee. And that indication was made by the chairman of the committee, Lawyer Tachia, because the indication also was that Superintendent Asari had been before the Bureau of National Investigations or National Investigations Bureau, which would fall under the domain of the National Security Minister, Honorable Kan Dapa. We will engage Dr. Adam Bona. He's a security analyst. Mr. Richard Kumado is a fraud prevention expert and security consultant. And then lawyer Osman Al-Hassan is a private legal practitioner. The IGP ouster probe. Have the chips falling in place? The chips, have they fallen in place? Or have they not? Okay. See if we have lawyer on in a bit. And then Mr. Adam Bona and Richard Kumado. And as always, you can join us on Facebook at 3FM927. Dr. Adam Bona is joining us on Zoom. Doc, thank you very much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning to your viewers and listeners, Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Doc. Doc, have the chips falling in place regarding the work that the committee is doing in Parliament to try and find out if indeed there's an agenda to kick out IGP Dampare?
Well, let me. Good morning to my co-panelist, my colleague Richard, and the lawyer on the other side. Well, yes, if you listen to the first tape that came out, it has now come out that the first tape that came out was this what they have now is a continuation of the first tape that came out. And so mine is, it looks like this whole thing is dragging too much. When I say it's dragging too much, there isn't anything else we are going to hear. And I must tell you, Mr. Hughes, I've listened to the entire tape. I've listened to what they have, and I've listened to the one that was leaked. I've listened to the one that they have. I've listened to it as well, and so I am talking from a point of view of knowledge and saying that I doubt if anything of substance will be added to the committee's work in terms of reporting and recommendations. There were some key things that came out during the on-camera discussions or hearing. One of it had to do with whether to authenticate to tell us whether, in fact, this audio is not fake. That has been checked. To authenticate the voices, that has been checked. And to identify the individuals, that has been checked. And other matters that are connected to the tape must also be checked. And so, if you understand what is now going on, it looks like it has more. What they've gathered, they've been able to take almost everything. Every box has been ticked now. What seems to be happening now, if you ask me, Johnny, is that the Attachment Committee seems to have expanded their mandate. And some of us kept talking about it. Because the moment you begin to invite the National Security Minister to come and give testimony, public testimony, on an issue that they themselves, no one is part of their work to gather intelligence, put it together. You invite them to come, and you know the law that establishes, the national security, and you know who is the chairman of the National Security Council.
Right.
Therefore, if any parliamentary committee or even courts if you want such information, it is close to impossibility, because these are, classified information. And remember, I'm sure the colleague on the other side, who is a lawyer, will tell you, we have the Whistleblowers Act, and the Whistleblowers Act actually protects people who give valuable information to unearth criminality. And when you go to court, every lawyer will tell you that how you gathered your evidence is inconsequential. It is neither here nor there. And when you go to court, it's straight knowledge. We know it, that he who alleges must prove. So when it comes to the evidence rule, the person who is alleging, the onus is on you constantly to prove that, yes, what I'm saying, this is the evidence. You don't allege that I've done A, B, C, D, and ask me to bring you the evidence. It doesn't work that way in law. And so, as far as I'm concerned, the Attachment Committee, and I kept saying it from day one, that probably they didn't know what they were doing by inviting the national security. You will not invite the national security, and the national security will come and give testimony. And remember that this thing they are doing must go to the plenary in Parliament. Going to the plenary means that if they gave you any classified information that has not been declassified, you must put it in your report. And in that report, it must be discussed. It means that you are going to be exposing informants and exposing other people who might have given you information. So I am thankful that the Honorable Kandapa was smart. Obviously, I'm sure he was advised by the national. They have very, very good lawyers within national security. Advised him that if you go, you can't tender in any document. You cannot even call the coordinators of national security, NIB, they can't call them to come. Because if you look at the law that establishes these organizations, they are supposed to be reporting. They report directly to the minister. Report, and the minister reports to the president.
I hear you.
As far as I'm concerned, to answer you again, to go directly to your question, I will say that whatever we wanted to hear with regards to the plot to oust the IGP, the despicable plot to oust the IGP, we have heard it. And the truth is that guys probably should have been apologizing so we can move on.
I see. Now, I don't want us to preempt the work of the committee, but let me also take the opportunity to welcome Mr. Richard Kumado and lawyer Osman Al-Hassan. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you, Johnny.
Great. I come to you, lawyer, for the legal perspective. Dr. Bonar raises a concern about the evidence rule and the fact that the onus will lie on the accuser or the one who is alleging to prove as a maximum of equity. Now, that has been forcibly made also by Lawyer Kwame Jan, who represented IGP Dampari, going forward the back and forth conversations in the public domain. What is your legal perspective about all of that?
Good morning, and then good morning to your listeners. You see, in the first place, I don't think this parliamentary proceedings is necessary in respect of allegations made. I mean, a tape recording that is leaked. This thing is not about tampering. This thing is about an expression of a mode of change of government that is completely different from constitutional injunctions. And you see, anytime we want to shield people from the shackles of the criminal law and prosecution, we set up a committee. I am telling you that this committee and its report is getting us nowhere. What do they intend to do with the report?
Why are you saying that?
Listen, we have a history. And the history is that anytime we want to protect people from prosecution, we set up a committee or a commission of inquiry to look into the things they have done. And I can tell you, since the Ghana at 50 commission of inquiry and the decision that the court gave about Republic and Wilkubrobe, the effect that once people have been summoned before a commission of inquiry without having the opportunity of being cautioned as what to say or not to say, or whether to be silent, then the evidence or whatever is found against them cannot be used in another court of law to prosecute them. That is the basis, the fundamental basis of the case of Wilkubrobe.
Double jeopardy.
Now, yes. So the point is that why don't we look into the case, allow the criminal prosecutors to do their work? If you need any reforms, then you can summon or gather information for any reforms. Because if you take it to Parliament, I'm surprised that Parliament is doing this. I am very surprised that Parliament has lent itself to this kind of thing. Because the question I always ask is, what do they intend to do with the information they are gathering?
What else could have been done, Counsel?
Now, you look, the statement they have made, for me, the most important and essential information that I gather from it is a willingness and a willingness and a disposition to have a government change in other means other than election. And that amounts to a very heinous crime in this country. And I wanted the people, if their voices were confirmed, actually, that they had said what they said and that they had expressed another mode of changing a government other than by constitutional means, then the law should take them through the same way others are facing the law because of the same comments they made somewhere else. Because, and if you finish with that and you think there's a need for any administrative reforms to prevent recurrence, that becomes a different issue. Because otherwise, after this, if the statement they have made constitutes any criminal offense under our laws, they will be protected from prosecution because of what they have been allowed to say during the committee hearing. That's number one. Number two, you see, the committee has terms of reference. What do they intend to? What are they trying to establish? Now, because of what I'm saying, you can see that they have allowed the people they are investigating on their own frolic to go wild and say.
Go ahead.
To go wild with everything, every information that is not supposed to, that's not even consistent. That's not consistent with the terms of the reference.
I see. Well,
yes. So for me, I think what they are doing is to protect. I mean, we see it when this thing happened. What's the name? The Ayawaso Wagon thing.
Right.
The same thing was set up, a committee. Why? Because when the people are summoned before the committee, the reason is that the report cannot be used as evidence against them in a court.
But is prosecution the only way out in this matter? I mean, some have suggested that a demotion, a reprimand of a sort, interdiction, what have you. Is prosecution the only option available?
But does Parliament do all these things that you have mentioned?
But if they make
Parliament who is going to do all that?
If they make a recommendation to the police council through the Speaker of Parliament, don't you think that the Speaker will oblige, and the police council too?
No. Parliament has no business in this, because there are institutions. Institution itself, the institution that has the power to do this, can institute an investigation to establish the facts based on which it will take action.
I see. And which institutions would you have wished had done this? The police officers are involved in this. The most ranked, the top ranked policeman, the IGP himself, has been held before their committee. So I don't think you're asking that the police investigate themselves.
Why not? The CID is there. The police council is there. They are the authorities. They are the authorities that can take action on this kind of thing. It's not Parliament.
But I mentioned the police council earlier, and you because I said that if Parliament is done with its work and presents the report or recommendations, as it were, to the police council for action, those actions could be taken by the police council headed by the vice president, giving those powers by the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. No?
No. They are not bound by the findings and reports of PAD.
I see.
And yes, they are not bound by it, and they can, you see, the proceedings. You know, let's not forget that when it comes to investigation, that's why we have a criminal investigation department. The authority and the logistics that they have to investigate into these matters. Parliament doesn't have, and it's not mandated to go beyond just public hearing. Because the CID and the other investigative bodies that can help any authority to take decisions on this matter is not Parliament. It's not Parliament.
I see.
Now, even authenticating the voices that are on the tape. What capacity has Parliament got to do?
Well, Parliament can always make a reference to an institution that can aid it to do its work. We've seen that in many different instances where Parliament has extended an invitation to say, come and assist us do A, B, and C. So Parliament can always get forensics, to come and, supply them information and the technicalities to be able to authenticate the voice. So I'm quite lost with your opinion.
So if Parliament is not the one taking the decision, Parliament is just gathering reports. You see, Parliament make laws. Let's not forget about the mandate and the duty of Parliament. Parliament is making laws. They are policy makers. So whatever they want to do with this, perhaps, is more relevant when it comes to reforms going forward.
I hear you. Let me bring in Richard Kumado. Sorry, Council. Richard Kumado, good morning. why are you laughing?
Morning, Johnny. Johnny, you see that people have wasted your time. You should have been speaking about the hardship in the country and the pain of national service people and the NACO people, and the retirees must go and the young must stay place. You see, they are worrying you now. You've devoted 22 minutes of your time, precious time. The reason why they took you from TV to radio to be talking about this particular thing.
I cannot answer to all these things. Now, let me quickly ask you, Is the committee going in the right direction?
No, they've lost it. They've lost it. When it comes to intelligence, let me speak to you as somebody who has written books on investigations. I'm writing another one on crime investigations. When we say terms of reference, the terms of reference purely for investigators, it talks about the scope and even talks a little about timing. But the terms of reference in investigation will normally not tell you the purpose and will not tell you the objective. So in that terms of reference the speaker gave them, they told them the scope and the time they have to start and finish. And it must also state separately the purpose of what they are doing and what the objective is. All what my brother Adam Bona has said and what the lawyer has said, they are just talking about what is the objective of what they are doing and what is the purpose. And when you are doing investigation, these are the two things that must guide you. Then the scope determines how far you can go. I think they are not getting it right. What is the terms of reference? Authenticate the tape. Basic knowledge. We authenticate the genuineness of something, and we ascertain the truthfulness of something, and we verify to confirm facts from rubbish. So if they are just doing one out of the three, authenticate the genuineness of the tape, and I think they have mixed it somewhere along the line. Do you know where they mix it? There's a tape in the public domain. Whether the tape is 2 minutes or 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Then authenticate the tape. Bugin Abu was gracious enough to appear before them and said, I did a recording.
Right.
It was done in my office.
Right.
All the voices you heard were people who are living, they are not dead. I can produce them if you want me to. Everything you heard on the tape was true. I personally submitted the tape to the press.
Hello? Richard,
Tony, at that point, because they have somebody, Tony, can you hear?
I can hear you.
Okay, so at that point,
Richard, your connection is feeble.
has taken the lead, and what Parliament then did was, you can't hear, right?
Well, Richard,
can you hear?
Richard, I'll come back to you. It looks like your connection is not too strong. Let me ask, Doc, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. Now, you say, for example, that the committee should not be asking the accused to come and justify why the allegation was made against him, but rather the accuser must be the one coming forward with details and evidence to say that, in fact, this is why I am accusing person A or B. Now, within the circles of our national security, where the national security minister says, the information you are asking me to provide to this committee has not been declassified. Therefore, I cannot give you. But we know that the committee is asking for that information because Superintendent Asari is said to have appeared before the National Investigations Bureau, or the Bureau of National Investigations, if you will. How do we proceed knowing that the National Security Minister is not willing to give classified information, yet the committee will have to probe using that claim by Superintendent Asari to arrive at a conclusion of, one, investigating the conspiracy to remove the Inspector General of Police? What do you say?
Like I'm saying, and like the lawyer on the other side, and Richard, in fact, said, you see, the committee, through the chairman, they have lost it. And this is probably how we must address it. The truth is that their mandate was specific. Their mandate was specific. The Speaker of Parliament, who constituted the committee, asked them to investigate matters relating to the tape. At what point, I have listened to the entire tape, at what point was the National Security Minister's name captured on the tape? His name was never captured. And the principle remains: he who alleges must prove.
So if I get lawyer Atachian right,
now say that.
Sorry, Doc.
Sorry,
Doc. If I get lawyer Atachian right, he says that the National Security Minister has been invited into the picture because Superintendent Asari appeared before the National Investigations Bureau, and on this subject matter. Can you hear me, Doc? Hello, Doc. Dr.
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you now.
Great.
Yes.
I'm saying that the chairman of the
hear you. Yes, go ahead.
The chairman of the committee says the reason for inviting the National Security Minister is because Superintendent Asari, when he appeared before the committee, mentioned that he had appeared before the NIB, which is supposed to be under the auspices of the National Security Minister, and for which reason there was a certain report which was supposed to have been on its way to the presidency as per COP Alex Mensah, and that they would want, to get into the meat of that matter because COP says there's no way that report can be before the committee. So that is the basis for which Mr. Kandapa was invited to face the committee.
Johnny, let me tell you this. The national security themselves are accomplices. They are accomplices in this because you remember when these three officers were interdicted, the first thing we were told after the suspension was that, there is a probe that is going on by you, so you cannot interdict them. Some of us felt, we have three organs of government, which Atachian himself articulated boldly in Parliament. That whatever is said here, you can't use it against anybody because they operate using their own rules. Therefore, if the police comes under the executive, it means they could have done some concurrent, they could have done their own parallel investigation, but they said no. So a certain interdiction was suspended. But you know that when the Speaker of Parliament said he was constituting a committee, soon after he said that, national security went around NIB arresting people. People were arrested.
That's right. And so when you arrest people
who are yet to be invited, if you arrest people who are yet to be invited to give testimony, probably in a public hearing, what are you seeking to do? Are you seeking to probably preempt what is going to happen? Johnny, can you hear me?
You're live, Doc. You're very live.
Hello?
Yes, Doc, we can hear you. You're live.
Are you seeking to guard them? Are you seeking to preempt what was going to be done?
Okay.
Are you seeking to intimidate them? Some of us were very uncomfortable with that attitude of the NIB. When Atobra and his people, some of these guys took charge of NIB and the rest, some of us said, well, there's going to be that mafia, the mafia thing they used to do would stop. But when this thing happened, I said, can you do that? Because we have a Whistleblowers Act. So if you think these guys in Bugri Nabu's office, they are the people who recorded the tape, or Bugri Nabu recorded the tape, that is inconsequential. The law, we have a law that protects them. And what these guys did amounts to, if this an attempt, conspiracy to commit crime is a crime. And so as far as I'm concerned, what they did is a serious crime against the state, which could pass for treason or high treason. And so mine is that national security, everything they did there, I tell you what, was to find out who recorded the tape, why the tape was recorded. Ask me if this issue should end up in court for criminal prosecution. Do you think the court is going to be bothering itself with any judge worthy of a sort would bother itself with why was it recorded and who recorded it? No. The court will be interested in the substance. Prosecution will be interested in the substance. But what national security did, which I thought made them look accomplices, was because, you see, instead of looking for arresting the people who were found in the tape, they rather went around arresting people who they suspected to have recorded and leaked the tape.
I see.
And so as far as I'm concerned, you see, Johnny, if we do not begin to speak truth to power, and we say, I say national security, they are accomplices.
I see.
They are accomplices in trying to change the course of whatever had taken place, to sort of dilute the importance and the essence of what has happened. And you know, up to a point, they even told us they were inviting the IGP and inviting other people. And some of us thought, you see, this is sacrilegious. This is sacrilegious. The national security, they know that they don't even have police powers. The recent law that has, they don't even
That's
have
right.
police
That's right.
powers.
That's right.
They don't have police powers. The national security is one thing we need to drum home to the gumption of national security, that, you know what, you do not possess police powers. And if you don't possess police powers, it is high time you started operating within your mandate.
I see.
You see, in this country, we do things that, you know, everybody wants to show macho these days. They are attitudes, they are reforming. I must say, they are reforming. October and his people are reforming. But on this singular issue, I will tell you that, you know what, they were arbitrary, they went beyond what their mandates asked them to do. And I am happy that the Honorable Minister of National Security, who one time was Nigeria Minister Defense, he's seen it all. He came out and told them that, you see, if I do this, one day I will be home on retirement and I will be dragged to court and prosecuted because he classified information cannot be shared with the public.
I see.
And so as far as I'm concerned, you know what, Johnny, we need to let the committee know that what we have already heard, that is what Parliament asked them to do.
I see.
For me, I wouldn't even want to go into whether it's necessary or not.
Let me bring in the lawyer quickly. Counsel, do you agree with Dr. Adam Bona? Lawyer Osman. Counsel. Well,
Yes, I can hear you.
do you agree with Dr. Bona that the national security went beyond their powers and that they are accomplices in this matter?
Well, I agree with him to the extent that they are missing the objective. You see, the content of the tape is more important than how the tape, the recording came about. And I agree with Doc to the point that why would you be interested in how the evidence is had instead of authenticating the evidence and taking appropriate action against the people who made statements that is contained in the recording? That has always been my point. And that's why I think Parliament and what they are doing is completely irrelevant. And the outcome of what they are doing is just going to shield the people from this treasonable offense that I believe they have committed. Because anyone who thinks about change of government other than the constitutional way of election is amount to treason. And they should have been allowed by the investigators, the appropriate authorities, to take them through the prosecution and let's see what comes out of it.
So now are you suggesting Counsel, are you suggesting that because Parliament has touched the matter, the police cannot touch it to refer it to the Attorney General for prosecution of the crimes that you claim have been committed?
That's why I started by telling you that we have a history of commission of inquiries and committees of inquiries and a court decision using the outcome of those inquiries for prosecution. Right. And that's why I mentioned Republic and Reku Brebo and Kujum Pienim about the Ghana at 50 Commission of Inquiry. Why were they not allowed to be prosecuted with the report, even though the report has made adverse findings? Why? Because two things: that the CI-61, which constituted the committee, had given certain privileges to the people who...
Go ahead, please. Hello? Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yes. That they have...
Hello, Counsel, please go ahead.
Yes. So, I'm having some distractions around me here. Yes. So if you look at that case and what it's established, you see, and the things they allow the witnesses to be saying before Parliament, it is clear that the intention is to protect them from criminal proceedings in respect of the content. Because why are you even bringing the IGP in? What is the IGP coming to do? It's like they are trying to see if the IGP is competent and whether the statement made about his competence are true. And then at the end of the day, the focus will be turned to whether the IGP should be in office or not. That is not the allegation.
I see. Now the chairman of the committee made it clear that the police service is not on a public trial. Thus far, do you think that they have eaten back their words and that they are doing exactly what they said they want to do?
Hugh,
Yes, sir.
they are doing exactly the contract. They are doing the contrary of what they will always pronounce. Because the police service is on trial. And you see, unfortunately, very, very important security information that should not be in the public domain are being published so freely. No country will compromise its national security this much because the people and the things that happen and that the parliament is purportedly investigating are things that happen at the top echelon of the security service.
I see. Okay.
The police, yes. So you don't have to bring. For me, to be honest with you, for me, I think all these things are being done in the context of our historical decision about reports of commissions of inquiry as regards their usefulness in criminal proceedings.
Let me bring in Richard Kumado maybe before we go to final thoughts for one minute. Kumado, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you, Johnny.
Now, your brothers have said that the committee has deviated. The committee is doing the exact opposite of what they have said they won't do, and that this is just to shield the people who have been mentioned who are committed heinous crimes, according to the lawyer. First of all, I ask you, what does this mean for our national security? Because the ultimate goal is for the committee to, beyond finding or agreeing to the authenticity of the tape, to also make reforms and necessary recommendations. But first, tell me, what does all of this drama, as I like to call it, mean for our national security?
Nothing. It's just a waste of everybody's time. They are just wasting too much time. I think they are on recess, so they have less job to be done. And they are just wasting everybody's time. Parliament doesn't make recommendations to the Ghana Police Service, let alone to national security institutions. Parliament don't bring reforms to national security institutions, let alone to the police. When we say national security, Johnny, you know that we have National Security Council, the BNI, the police, immigration, customs, the military, all of them are national security institutions.
Right.
And they meet at the council. When they meet at the council, information that are meant for individuals' operational tactics or strength, it is shared. Other than that, information is shared based on the need to know and the need to share. So the BNI will not even tell the Minister of National Security everything they have gathered in relation to this particular tape.
Exactly.
And even instead of inviting the director BNI, you mistakenly went and invite Kandapa, who is the National Security Minister, who will not even have all the information. Even at the national security, when informations are shared based on operational tactics, when they come back, each individual institution operates in line with their mandate and their operational tactics. So there are so many things they've got it so wrong, which are so basic. And they are just wasting everybody's time. You are not going to make any recommendation that will change how the police is run, even if you take Dampari out of the place. The state itself is struggling in getting people to man our security agencies. And that is what the president is mindful of. But let me take you back a little bit.
Quickly.
When this tape broke up, Dampari, because most of the things that were said was against Dampari and his person and his role as an IGP. He did an investigation personally to get a full stretch of whatever has happened and the decisions he need to take. The state itself, because the issues is about the police, used the BNI to do the investigation. And remember, they took away the arresting powers of the BNI.
Right.
But in this particular case, because the police was the one at the center, the BNI circumvented their own rule and went for an arrest and did the investigation. And who said the BNI cannot prosecute? They can. So the state used the BNI to investigate, to have a full stretch of what has happened, what has been said, and what has not been said. So the state has finished their own. Parliament, who are on recess, who have no work to be done, set up a probe to authenticate the tape. They should concentrate on authenticating the tape and stop wasting the time of everybody. Johnny, on the tape, the substantial issue is that Dan Parry has been killing people more than President Rawlings. On the tape, the second issue is that they want to remove Dan Parry and circumvent the will of the people by masterminding regime change and many of those things. Then you have Dan Parry sitting before you. In this country, I'm one of the few people who has been trained on how to interpret human emotions using body language, semantic ID,
right,
and strategic interview. I have been teaching this thing for the past 10 years. You have Dan Parry in front of you, and you are not asking Dan Parry the core issues on the tape as the head of the police. Dan Parry, have you been involved in an election before? Have you masterminded the change of an election? What did you do at Komewu? What did you do at Asimno? Dan Parry, you are killing people. Where are the people you are killing? What have they done? Where have you been burying them? And what is all that? We never ask him. That is why I agree more with what Councillor Osman is saying, that you brought Dan Parry, you ran away from the main issues on the tape, and you went to the periphery by shading some other people who made those wild allegations against Dan Parry. Then I agree with Adam Bona, who said that, why would you want to bring national security there? They're not going to give you anything. So, I think it's a waste of everybody's time. And I cannot continue teaching them some of these basic things when they are not ready to pay. The chairman of the committee came out to say that the tape was dotted. Johnny, that was one of the biggest statements you can make in an investigation such as this. Because the word dotted means different things to different people. And when you say the tape was dotted, when you have not finished the investigations to produce a report, you have thrown the whole country into a frame, and you have thrown your whole committee into the periphery that people will not even trust you again.
I see.
And the likes of Adam Bona and some other people who have listened to the whole tape, the two other tapes, it would have been appropriate for the committee chairman to say that there's an extensive version of the tape we have heard. That is acceptable. Do you know why? If it is true, let's play that devil's advocate. If it is true that it was Dan Parry's guys who did the recording, knowing the character and the attitude of the people who appear and their terrible misdemeanor and the anger and the many arrogance they show, do you think they are going to throw the whole thing into the public domain? When you also begin to reason like lawyers who knows that this thing can lead to court, they will hold back some of them so that when we get to court, we will produce the other one we didn't produce, which then become part of our evidence. So what is the committee thinking? I thought there were lawyers there, and I thought there are senior police officers there. They cannot read in between the lines and see some of these things. And so to have an extended version of the tape, and you are not asking the people, have you spoken to Bugin Abu? Things on the tape, did you say it? Which one did you say? Which one did you not say? Have they catch your voice and pace? What is this? What is that? And you came out to say the tape is dotted. Some of us felt that, hey, we are talking about this thing too many times, and it's a waste of everybody's time.
Richard Kumadwa, thank you very much indeed. Lawyer Osman and Dr. Bona, I'll give you a minute each to wrap up. First, you, Lawyer Osman, the committee is supposed to give us reforms. Given the way they have conducted themselves and the public commentary, do you get the sense that any reforms they advertise will be taken seriously by the public?
First of all, where are they going to publish that?
Who is the recipient of the report? And what is the authority of the recipient to do whatever they want to recommend? That is why I think this is, look, and they are exhibiting crass incompetence. And I think at a point they realized that people were seeing it, so they have to come out and say who they are, just to give credence to the proceedings. But that doesn't give credence to the proceedings. We are exposing very sensitive national security issues just in the name of protecting people from right and proper prosecution of criminal proceedings.
Great.
That's what I think.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Osman. Dr. Bona, you have the final word on this one. Now, where do we go from here?
Well, just like the Lawyer Osman and my colleague Richard said, what I would want to say is that if there has to be any recommendations, the recommendations would have to, first of all, do some amendments to the mode of appointment of an IGP. May have to try and attempt to do that. Because you see, all these things that we are talking about has to do with the fact that the office of the IGP is not protected, like the office of the Chief Justice, like the office of the EC, and the Auditor General and the rest. But I take solace in the Domolevo versus the Republic, where he was not close to going on retirement, and he was not due for retirement. He was sent home early. Eventually, the court ruled, but it was a bit too late. And so mine is that I want to believe that Parliament might have the power to do that, but Parliament will not be able to make any recommendations that would administratively impact on policing.
I see.
Because then the police works with the CI 76. If they want to change the CI, amend it, that's fine. That is what Parliament can do.
Right.
But apart from that, I don't see they can't do much apart from this fact finding they are doing.
Great. Dr. Adam Bona, thank you very much for spending your money with us. Also to Richard Kumado, he's a fraud and security specialist, and lawyer Osman Ahlasan is a private legal practitioner. Adam Bona is with Security Warehouse. Gentlemen, I thank you very much indeed for your time. Good morning.
3 FM Sunrise.